As a decorated veteran of Vietnam, when Mark asked for a volunteer to be involved last year with the district's committee on youth peace and action, I raised my hand and became part of the district committee. Youth and Peace in Action is an initiative of our district. Rotary has been involved with peace with the Rotary International Foundation for over 100 years. After the First World War, the Rotary International Foundation was formed and a commitment was added to the objects of Rotary for the international goodwill, understanding, and peace. The programs when I entered Rotary in 1977 were the ambassadorial scholars and the group study exchanges. I was a counselor during my time at Rockville Rotary Club for one ambassadorial scholar. Scholars were sent from the United States to other countries, and Washington, D.C. being a mecca of great universities, we received many here. The other program was the group study exchange, where 4 or 5 young professionals were taken by a Rotary leader to another Rotary district for a month. And then that district sent their young professionals to our district. In 1994, I was the leader of the group study exchange to the Philippines, Quezon City. Those programs ended in 2002 when Rotary Foundation made a commitment to peace universities. There are 6 of them in the world. There's one in Thailand, one in Australia, there's one in Japan. Duke UNC is the one in the United States, there's one in England, and there's one in Sweden. Since then, 1,500 Rotary Peace Scholars have been developed, and the majority of them go into non-government organizations. Some go into government, some teach. Today, we have a group from Jackson Reed High School, which is the old Woodrow Wilson. And without taking more time, I'm going to introduce Marc Minsker, who you met last year about this time. He is a master teacher of English. He's has a bachelor's from the University of South Carolina, a master's degree in English, and a master's degree from Johns Hopkins in education. He is now one of the assistant principals of Jackson Reed. For those of you that are native Washingtonians like me, that school is the old Woodrow Wilson. I would have gone there if I hadn't passed the exam to get into St. Albans in the 10th grade. So with that, I'm going to introduce Marc and take it away.
Thank you, Bob. Hey, Mark. And with the happy dollars, I probably should have put up my hand because I think I want to celebrate. I'm happy about next Friday is Veterans Day, as you know, and Bob, as a veteran of the Vietnam War, is here today. So, Bob, thank you for your service. Let's give it up for all of that. So, thank you for having me. I started working with Bob about a year and a half ago on Youth Peace in Action. I want to introduce, if Ellie, Daniel, and Addie can come up. I've got 3 students with me today.
Come on over
From
here.
Jackson Reed. We were going to show a little short video. We're not set up for audio, so we're just going to go through we have about 10 slides. We're going to go through if you two want to, or 3, stand over here. And if you can go ahead and run this. So just real quick, Jackson Reed is the largest high school in the District of Columbia. We have 2,300 students. We're a little smaller than BCC, but we have a lot of students who are active in community service. And so one of the things over the last 5 years that I've been at the school is helping students to organize around issues specific to our community. As you know, Woodrow Wilson High School and Alice Deal Middle School were built right around Fort Reno. That was a community once. And some of you are probably aware of Reno City, which is kind of how our work has evolved. So I'm going to turn it over to these students. I think Daniel's going to go first, then Ellie, then Addie. So you can go to the first slide. And we'll talk a little bit how this fits in with YPA. Yep. So you can go to the next slide. Yeah. Thank you. As you heard,
Right over here. Perfect. So we can get rock and roll.
As you heard, Rotary has a 100+ year history of advocating for peace in an area of focus evolving for new generations. That can go to the next slide. So the Youth Peace in Action is a peace building initiative for high schools and youth clubs that puts young people at the center of building and sustaining a culture of peace. Thanks to sponsors, there's no cost for a high school to sign up, and the YPA, My Peace Builder Foundation interactive online courses are available for students. Okay, yeah, so sorry.
Go back. Go back. Use the arrows. There you go. Back 2 more.
Okay. Students at Jackson Reed began participating with the YPA during 2021 to 2022, that school year.
And I just want to mention for that online course. So the online courses are designed to help students figure out peace projects in their communities. I was thankful that the students working with us at CCC, which is our club you're going to hear about, already had projects in place. As Bob can tell you, who did the interactive course, it was a series of modules online for students. I think it's a really helpful course. They've redesigned it this year. It's a little more streamlined. I think it's particularly a great online course if you're living in, say, Ohio or Kansas. You might not have a lot of opportunities for community service. Being in the Washington, D.C. metro area, we have lots of opportunities. So our students tied into this online course, which is called My Peace Builder Foundation. Daniel's going to talk about that now. Next slide.
So there are 318 schools, clubs, and organizations signed up, 7,000 students, teachers, and community sponsors, 45,000 hours of peace learning and projects, and 1,500 newly certified peace builders.
Okay, so our Community Coalition for Change Club started in the fall of 2018 as we've been working on initiatives to address the tragic legacy of Reno City, which was a predominantly Black neighborhood in Fort Reno that was thriving, and it was destroyed between the years of 1910 and 1940 to gentrification, and that was for. And in the spring of 2019, we kind of shifted our focus, not all of it, but to working with the National Park Service and Superintendent Washburn to advocate for a community center in this. It's an abandoned building, and it's right near the tennis courts at Fort Reno. And when they renovate it, we're trying to have a space dedicated for learning about the history of Reno City in it.
And I want to just mention that both Addie and Ellie presented to Superintendent Julia Washburn, class of 81, Wilson High School. She is over all of Rock Creek Park. The National Park Service maintains this building, which is abandoned. There is a project on Wisconsin at the top of the hill, right when you get up to like the very top of where River Road comes in. There's a project that's being built by urban investment planners. And because of the height ordinance in DC, and for order for them to build at a certain height, they have to create a community benefits package of $250,000. That money is going directly into the rehab of this building.
Nice.
So the building is already being rehabbed. The money is already there. What we want is to ensure that the first floor is truly a community center. Because those of you who are longtime DC residents know there was a thing called the Neighborhood Planning Council. Neighborhood Planning Council number 3 was run out of that building. And so we want a community center that students, that community members can use. ANCs can meet there. Deal students can go there, Jackson Reed students can go there. And in order for it to be a true community center, these students have helped to put together educational panels that will be hung on the walls, telling the whole story of Reno, including the Civil War defenses. That's part of it, the building of the schools, but also the tragic story of Reno. So go to the next slide. Thank you.
During the 2021-22 school year, we partnered with WIN or Washington Interfaith Network for housing, Ward 3 housing justice to push for more people in low income to move into Ward 3 and make it a livable space for everybody. And this includes canvassing, community rallies, and meetings with local leaders, including the ANC 3B and 3C, as well as the DC Council. And we've also worked with the Student Action Committee at Georgetown Day School, and they have a subsection, I guess, for affordable housing.
So our focus for this school year is really focused on those panels and the speak house renovation. After this selection, we met with Superintendent Washburn and we opened those panels up and displayed in the Friendship Heights Alliance at the Pepco Center, which is currently being used as kind of a pop-up gallery.
Yes. Yeah, those of you that are familiar, if you go down Wisconsin, right at Harrison in Wisconsin is the old Pepco building. In that space is art display exhibits. The panels that the students are creating for the Chesapeake House will be there first. Friendship Heights Alliance is actually paying for the production of these educational panels. So we're going to actually have them there, preview them there for the community before they go into Chesapeake House. And again, that's the work the students are doing. If you can go to the next slide, you'll hear just briefly about the panels. That's the pop-up space, if you've seen it. Again, this is the old Pepco substation at Harrison in Wisconsin. So come early December, you will, if you pass this, and you'll see the interpretive exhibits that are up around Reno and the work that the students have been doing. Next slide, please.
Keep an eye out. We're going to have 6 panels, one of course covering the Civil War defenses and kind of like the beginning of Reno. One about Jessamina School, and Wilson. Jessamina School, the building is at part of the field, and it was originally a black school, so we're going to cover the history of that. We want to talk about, the golden days of Reno City and kind of expand it just beyond its destruction because it was a vibrant community, and we want to honor that. But we also want to talk about, kind of the destruction of it. And we also want to talk about the concert series. That's one of the Fort Reno summer concerts. There's some really cool, rich history there. And then the tower, reservoir, and Cartwright towers, which are the towers in Fort Reno. One of them was used in the war as pretty much a microwave satellite. So yeah, this. As a large we've been supplementing the community work through online courses with YPA and my School Foundation. And thank you guys so much for this opportunity to share with you. And yeah.
And I just want to mention that I want to thank Bob again for not only inviting us, but sponsoring us this year, because it was a $500 fee for us to have access to this online module to do these Peace Builder Foundations. It's a new program this year online. We're really excited to have students be a part of that. Not only learning more about peace projects, because these peace projects are unique to certain communities throughout the United States, actually throughout the world, where students are creating projects, again, to try to build peace. We believe that telling the whole story of Reno, while in conjunction with working on affordable housing initiatives, we didn't even get into some of the details like Mayor Bowser in DC has said by 2025, there will be 3,000 affordable housing units west of Rock Creek Park. Currently, there are 25, and we're in 2022. So the students had a lot of work on mixed income housing and a way to do it in the community that is supporting like what happened there is tragic, but we believe moving forward that we can make a community for all. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Bob Sholz, for having us. And any questions, just grab us when you leave.